continued investigations.
Reverend Al Sharpton, you're with us as well. An historic day.
No doubt about it. I think it is. I want to bring Joe Scarborough back in from Morning Joe, because I think he's right. This is a clear day of victory for the president. But I think that the question that he raises that I wanted him to elaborate on is that if all is as we seeing from Barr's letter, then why did so many people lie? We're talking about 37 indictments. So if it was not Russian collusion, then what was it? And is any of that criminal, Joe? Because the question is, people don't just lie about anything or about nothing. So then what are all of these people? I mean, I'd hate to be one of the guys headed to jail if all of this was nothing.
Yeah, well, you know, Reverend Al, again, I think, again, and I know you and I have talked about this before off camera, so much of what Donald Trump does, not only whether it was on the campaign or on the campaign trail or even as president of the United States, is not focused on foreign policy, not focused on domestic policy. It's always been about money with him. So if they were continuing their conversations with Russians and with Russian officials about building a Trump Tower in Moscow, then yes, they would lie about that, because they would know that that obviously would be improper behavior. Illegal, maybe not, but certainly not a proper thing to be doing during a presidential campaign. But again, we have to put this in proper context. Donald Trump did not expect Donald Trump to be elected president of the United States. This was like a branding exercise horribly wrong. He thought he was going to lose, and then he thought he was going to make a lot of money off of that by either starting a TV network or by, you know, building his Trump Tower in Moscow. So that probably explains most of the lies. I don't understand, though, why you had officials, even after they were indicted by Robert Mueller, continuing to lie. But they did. But just, again, let's just look at the big headline here, though. This is actually a big win for the President of the United States, not just legally, but Chuck Todd's right. Politically, it's a very big win. And we can talk about obstruction of justice. Most of the obstruction was done in plain sight for all of us to see, whether it was with the Lester Holt interview or whether he was bragging to the foreign minister of Russia that he had fired Comey and relieved the pressure off of everybody. So most of that obstruction seemed to be in plain sight. So the congressional committees can still continue the investigations. But collusion was the big question. And on that, Robert Mueller, after 2 years of investigating, gave a very clear answer, and that was that there was no collusion. I mean, this was as clean cut, and Reverend Al, I'm sure you'll remember this. A lot of people may not. This is about as clean cut as Mike Tyson beating Spinks in the first round. I mean, this was, I know Trump's attorneys are shocked. I know a lot of Democrats are shocked on Capitol Hill about this. Nobody expected this sort of exoneration on collusion, but there is exoneration on collusion. There remains the questions about obstruction of justice that, of course, the congressional committees can investigate. But also, again, you've got the Southern District of New York, where most legal scholars believe Donald Trump's greatest